When we think of a nation, we picture flags, anthems, and seats at the United Nations, symbols that mark a country's existence. But true sovereignty is about more than symbols or speeches. It's about control, the government's ability to govern its territory and people. This means enforcing laws, collecting taxes, and maintaining order, without relying on outside help. Practical sovereignty is the reality on the ground, which can differ sharply from what's recognized by international law. Most countries have both recognition and real control. But in some regions like the Horn of Africa, these don't always align. Here, the difference between a state on paper and a state in practice is clear. Understanding this gap is crucial to grasping the region's volatile politics. The Horn of Africa forces us to ask, what does it really mean to be a sovereign nation today? We'll explore this by comparing Somalia and Somaliland, one with international recognition but little control, the other with stability and control but no recognition. Their stories reveal the complex interplay between legal status and real power. This isn't just theory, it has real consequences for global security and the future of statehood. Let's dive into what sovereignty truly means in the modern world. Real sovereignty means effective exclusive control over a territory and its people. It's about being the ultimate authority, making and enforcing laws that shape daily life. A government's claim to sovereignty is weak if it can't enforce its rules, no matter how many countries recognize it. True control shows in a monopoly on force, police for order, military for defense. If militias or foreign armies operate freely, sovereignty is compromised. Real sovereignty also means collecting taxes, running courts, and maintaining infrastructure, using your own resources. These are the signs of a functioning state, not just a name on a map. So when we ask who holds power, we look at who paves roads, polices streets, and runs schools. Not just who's recognized abroad. Sovereignty is earned on the ground, not granted by international committees. Somaliland is a striking example of practical sovereignty without international recognition. Since declaring independence in 1991, it's built its own government, military, police, and currency. Unlike much of the region, Somaliland's government in Hargeisa maintains real control and security. Stability here comes from local reconciliation and state building, not foreign troops. The port of Berbera is a thriving economic hub, managed by Somaliland authorities. Democratic elections have fostered legitimacy and public trust. Citizens pay taxes and receive services, forming a real social contract. Yet no country officially recognizes Somaliland. It remains a paradox, a functioning state without a seat at the table. Somaliland challenges the idea that recognition is required for real statehood. Somalia, in contrast, has all the formal recognition of a sovereign state, UN membership, embassies, and international support, but on the ground, the government's authority is limited, often not extending beyond Mogadishu. Large areas are controlled by groups like Al-Shabaab, who collect taxes and enforce their own laws. The government relies heavily on international troops for security. Without this support, its hold on power would be fragile. Somalia is fully sovereign on paper, but lacks effective control over its territory. This exposes the gap between legal recognition and real governance. Is international recognition alone enough to call a nation sovereign? Somalia's government survives thanks to a massive international military presence. Forces like AMISOM and ATMIS have been the backbone of security for over 15 years. Foreign troops protect government officials and infrastructure, keeping the state from collapse. This support is essential, but it undermines Somalia's claim to full sovereignty. A truly sovereign state controls its own security forces. In Somaliland, security is managed internally, without foreign troops. The contrast is stark. One government is propped up by outsiders, the other stands on its own. This difference goes to the heart of what real, sustainable sovereignty means. Can a state be truly sovereign if it can't defend itself? The answer shapes the region's future. De jure and de facto sovereignty are key to understanding the Horn of Africa. De jure means legal, internationally recognized authority. Somalia's government has this. De facto means real control on the ground. Somaliland has this, despite no recognition. For Somalilanders, their government is the reality. For the world, only Mogadishu is legitimate. This disconnect has real consequences. Somaliland can't access international loans or sign treaties, limiting its growth, yet it remains stable and orderly, while Somalia's recognized government struggles with basic governance. International recognition is more than symbolic, it's a gateway to the global system. But Somaliland proves stability can exist without it, and Somalia shows recognition doesn't guarantee order. The Horn of Africa is a living test of these competing ideas. The legal map doesn't always match the reality on the ground. Policymakers must navigate this tension daily. The stakes are high for both the region and the world. The Horn of Africa's sovereignty issues have global consequences. The region sits at a strategic crossroads bordering the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, a vital artery for global trade. Instability here threatens shipping, energy security, and the world economy. Memories of Somali piracy show how quickly chaos on land can spill into the sea. That's why major powers keep naval forces nearby to protect trade routes. The region is also a frontline in the fight against terrorism, with groups like Al-Shabaab posing threats far beyond Africa. Global and regional powers compete for influence, building bases and forging alliances. The Horn's stability is a matter of international security and economic health. Its internal struggles ripple across the globe. The Somalia-Somaliland divide challenges the foundations of the international system. The world resists changing colonial-era borders, fearing a domino effect of secession. Recognizing Somaliland could set a precedent for other separatist movements. Yet denying recognition to a stable, self-governing entity raises questions about fairness and the purpose of international norms. The system often values legal boundaries over effective governance. This dilemma puts the world at a crossroads. Support a paper state or reward real self-rule. The choice will shape state-building and international relations for years to come. The Horn of Africa forces a global rethink of sovereignty in the 21st century. The Horn of Africa highlights the gap between theory and reality in global politics. Somalia's story shows the limits of de jure recognition. International support hasn't translated into full control. Somaliland, with little outside help, has built a functioning, peaceful state, yet lacks official recognition. One has the title deed but not the house. The other has the house but not the deed. This raises the enduring question: is sovereignty about recognition or about real control? The region doesn't offer easy answers, but it frames the debate sharply. Do we value legal norms or effective governance more? The future of the Horn, and perhaps statehood itself, depends on how we answer. The world must decide what truly makes a nation sovereign. The stakes could not be higher. As we look beyond the Horn of Africa, its lessons ripple far wider than its rugged coastlines. Across the globe, other regions face similar dilemmas. Governments recognized on paper but powerless in practice, and communities building peace and progress in the shadows of official maps. The story of sovereignty here is not just about flags, treaties, or even borders. It's about the lived realities of people, the resilience of communities, and the shifting sands of legitimacy. What happens in the Horn of Africa challenges us to rethink old definitions. It urges the international community, policymakers, and ordinary citizens to ask, who gets to decide what a nation is? How should the world respond when reality and recognition diverge? In a world where power and paper often part ways, perhaps the true test of sovereignty lies in the everyday lives of those on the ground. The Horn of Africa reminds us, the answers we choose will echo far beyond this region, shaping the future of nations everywhere. As we close our exploration, one thing becomes clear: the story of sovereignty is far from finished. Each day, new challenges arise: climate change, shifting alliances, technology that erases old borders and creates new ones. In the Horn of Africa and beyond, communities are not waiting for the world's approval to build their futures. They are forging connections, innovating solutions, and redefining what it means to belong. For the next generation, sovereignty might not just be about control or recognition, but about collaboration, adaptability, and resilience. The questions we've asked here are just the beginning. How will nations adapt to a world where power is shared and identities are fluid? Can international systems evolve to reflect realities on the ground? The answers depend on all of us, leaders, citizens, and observers alike. Because the future of sovereignty isn't written in treaties or maps. It's shaped by the choices we make, the voices we amplify, and the bridges we build. As we look forward, the story continues, waiting for new authors, new ideas, and new hope. But what about you? The story of sovereignty isn't just for leaders or diplomats, it's for everyone who calls a place home. Every conversation you have, every story you share, and every question you ask helps shape how the world understands borders, belonging, and power. Whether you're following events from afar, living in the heart of a contested region, or connecting with others online, your perspective matters. Sovereignty is not just a distant political concept, it's the lived reality of millions, impacted by decisions, both big and small. So as you move forward, remember, you are part of this ongoing narrative. Stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay engaged. Because the future of sovereignty isn't just written by those in power, it's written by all of us together. Thank you for being part of this journey. Curious to dive deeper, the conversation about sovereignty doesn't end here. The world is changing fast, and understanding these shifts means staying informed. Explore documentaries, read books and articles from diverse perspectives, and follow experts who break down the complexities of borders and identity. Join online forums or community groups discussing global affairs, and don't hesitate to ask questions or share your own insights. Remember, learning is a journey, one best traveled with an open mind and a willingness to listen. If today's video sparked new questions, let them guide you toward discovery. Check out the resources in the video description for a starting point. And if you found this story valuable, consider subscribing and sharing it with others. Together, we can keep the conversation going and build a more informed, connected world, one story at a time.